Have you ever wondered how to avoid hunger? I find that one of the hardest things about dieting and nutrition and getting results in your fat loss is managing hunger. So, what do you do when you get really hungry, or if you've been on a diet for a while and you just cannot get past these cravings? Well, we're going to dive into that in this episode. I'm going to give you four tools that you can really easily use, and then I'll give you a bonus one because I like to have a little bonus thing rather than just saying five. It's just kind of a cool marketing thing, I think. And we're going to talk about the things that have worked for me and worked for countless clients of mine, and just give you some actionable steps that you can take when next time you're feeling like you got to eat something. You're listening to the Low Carb Hustle, home of your $1 Million Body Method, where we help you get leaner and live longer. My name is Nate Palmer. I've been a coach since 2008, have helped over 1,200 people level up their health and fitness. My mission is simple: to show you how to easily drop fat so you can feel lean, strong, and energetic. So if you're ready to learn some simple tactics that are going to eliminate hunger and help you get better results longer term, then stick around. Let's do this. What is up, my friends? Hey, we are talking today about hunger, mastering your hunger, and I got to give you a couple science-backed strategies to manage some cravings. So I think that a crucial aspect of any fat loss program is hunger. And if you can figure this out, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Because I know that if once I'm in a deficit, I've been doing like dieting, cutting down, trying to get lean for a photo shoot, whatever else. By about a week in, I'm making like the world's weirdest charcuterie boards in my kitchen. I'm like, I've been in the fridge 19 different times, and I finally settled for like 16 slices of like an orange, like some kids cereal, and then like the last quarter of cottage or of cream cheese that's been in the fridge for like 14 months. It's a little bit of mold growing on it, but I just cut that off and I'm like, charcuterie board. So I don't know if you've ever been in that boat before, but it gets weird and it gets dark when you're always hungry. So I want to talk about ways we can manage that and then eliminate some of those variables. That way you can just make the process more seamless. So we'll talk about why hunger strikes, how you can fight it with a couple science-backed strategies that are not just good on paper, but actually work in real life as well. So hunger is definitely like one of the top adversaries you're going to face in any sort of fat loss, belly fat loss journey. And it usually signals one of about three things. Okay. You maybe lump these into two, but number one is you didn't eat enough at your last meal. I see this a lot of people who are trying to like cut calories or do low calorie snacks and eating small portions like a tiny bird. That's not necessarily the way that you're going to get the best results long-term, unless you're someone who's just very underactive, just sits all day long, doesn't really exercise, in which case you can probably get away with that, but you need to focus on the food quality. Anyways, you didn't eat enough at your last meal. That's what happens a lot of times. I see this with a lot of people at lunches, eating really, really small lunches. And by 3 o'clock, they're like, give me everything you got. And then driving through, making poor eating choices, etc. Number two reason I see a lot of times people getting hungry is that you're bored, you're stressed, you're frustrated, and you're looking for a quick dopamine hit. This is like emotional eating 101. Okay. And so while we all experience this to a certain extent, after you give into this, and really start using your food as a way of improving your happiness and your quality of life, that's when you start training yourself to lean on food for that emotional support. So now you have an emotional support cookie instead of an emotional support Labrador, which is a far worse trade-off. So when you're feeling down, or anxious, frustrated, your brain really is craving a quick dopamine hit from food. I notice this a lot when I'm working on business stuff that requires like complex thinking, just like deeper levels of understanding, and just it challenges me. Oftentimes I will be like, all right, I'm going to come back to this after I go eat some food. That'll make me feel better. And then guess what? It doesn't. What makes me feel better is leaning into that task and getting it done, working through it, solving my problem, rather than avoiding the behavior, avoiding the thing by using food. Okay. That's my go-to. So especially like this also leads to a lot of like high sugar and high fat foods, because those give you the biggest dopamine response. So it releases those pleasure inducing chemicals. And we just don't want to give our brains a dopamine response every time it asks for it. Okay. That's how we train ourselves to be creatures of comfort and to never say no to anything that sounds good, which, people that I'm talking about who always just indulge in the first thing that crosses their mind. It's not the people we want to be. Right. And then the third reason that you get hungry, or I get hungry, is I ate the wrong foods. Consuming foods that cause massive blood sugar spikes, especially if you have any sort of insulin resistance, if your waist to height ratio is above 0.46, You can do that by just measuring your waist at the narrowest point, about an inch above your belly button, dividing that by your height. If that number is above 0.46, you need to work on getting that down because you're probably on the spectrum of insulin resistance, which means that your body's not processing carbs very effectively. So eating those foods that can cause blood sugar spikes and cause crashes and then leave you feeling completely hungry, ravenous, just wanting to eat whatever. Because what happens is your insulin goes up to match your blood sugar, but it probably goes a little too high because you just don't have a good sensitivity there. Then your blood sugar goes down. You still have some insulin in your system and your body's like, let's get some sugar. So rather than eating six blueberries, you eat half of a donut. And then all of a sudden that cycle repeats itself. So you're getting hungry at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 9 p.m. It's rather than just eating at meal times. High glycemic foods also kind of can trigger this and lead to those rapid increases and subsequent drops in blood sugar, which triggers hunger. Because this is like eating a Chipotle burrito at lunch. Makes you tired, and then guess what? You're hungry like 3 hours later. So don't stress, though, because there are a lot of effective ways to combat hunger. So here are 4 that I really, really like that have worked well for me. Number 1 is exercise. Engaging some sort of physical activity, like for me, pull-ups or push-ups is kind of a good one. I just drop down and if I have a push-up space handy, I'll just do as many as I can. Or if I'm at home, I'll go into the garage and bang out a set of pull-ups. And it can significantly reduce hunger cravings. If you ever had like a hard workout, you get home and like someone is cooking something that's like hot and aromatic at your house. I remember the other day I got home from jujitsu, which is like, a 90-minute workout. I burned 1,000 calories. I'm like dying, my face hurts. Someone like elbowed me in the nose, like everything hurts and I'm dying. And I get home, my wife's making chicken tikka masala and it's just this Indian aromatic hot food. And I'm like, I just don't want that. No, like that's a hard pass for me right now. I need to cool my internal temperature down so I can eat food again. And I'm just not hungry for a while after that kind of vigorous exercise. But even just doing a quick set of push-ups or pull-ups or whatever else, like research has indicated that exercise does suppress ghrelin. That's your hunger hormone. And it can boost levels of hormones like peptide YY and leptin, which promote fullness and increase that satiety. So they can just keep you feeling more full and keep you from having hunger pangs. So like next time you feel hunger, like especially in the middle of the day, just drop down, do some push-ups. Let me know how it goes. It's so powerful, so effective. And so many people hate doing it. So try that out. Be the 1%. Number 2 is walk outside. Get a little bit of sunshine. Walking is great because you can't eat you can't eat out of the refrigerator and walk at the same time. I guess you could eat goldfish, something like that. But walking is a great way, especially at night, to get you out of like a environment where it promotes bad habits. Like you might realize that you sit on the couch at the same spot every night and you turn on Netflix and then you get hungry. And like, that's a trigger for you. So maybe get outside instead. But a walk in the sunshine is great because not only does this distract you from food, but it also helps regulate your hunger hormones. Sunlight exposure actually increases your leptin levels. Those are the satiety hormones, opposite of ghrelin. And that signals fullness to your brain. Plus, walking will actually reduce your stress, reduce your boredom, and increase oxytocin, which can lead to better feelings, happier moods, etc. Third for me is to have some electrolytes. A lot of the times, hunger is just a misrepresentation of being thirsty. And so when our body gets thirsty, we haven't had a cup of water all day because we've just been pounding coffee all morning. And our body's like, we could use some water, a little hydration. And we interpret that as being hungry. So that's a common thing that happens a lot. But a lot of times we can't absorb a lot of water because our bodies are low on minerals like potassium, magnesium, and sodium being just salt. So having a little bit of that in there, those are the electrolytes I'm talking about, that actually can help your body absorb and utilize water more effectively. So this reduces the sensation of hunger, prevents dehydration, and keeps you healthier because now your body is more hydrated. And the more hydrated you are, the healthier you are, the better your tissues work, the better your body feels, the better your brain is functioning. All of those things are good. So adding in some electrolytes is a great option there. And then number 4, have some caffeine. This is great in the morning, especially. Caffeine is a potent appetite suppressant. You might already know that, but just having a cup of coffee or something like that can be a great way to suppress your hunger moving forward. I didn't put it on the list, but a lot of people say the same thing about nicotine. So that's why smokers are so skinny. I don't know if I should say that on this podcast. I just did. Too bad. But nicotine and caffeine are both appetite suppressants because they're both stimulants. Most stimulants will suppress your appetites to some extent. I won't even get into the pharmaceuticals here, but make sure that if you're going to be having caffeine though, you're not having it, after about noon for most of us, 2:00 for some people. I saw someone the other day had a cup of coffee before bed and they're like, it just doesn't affect me. I just go right to sleep. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I see what you're saying. And I don't understand it, because the way caffeine works basically is it just jams itself into these things that are called adenosine receptors. Adenosine is the stuff that builds up in your brain that builds up sleep pressure. So like that heavy eye sensation where you're like, man, I could just take a nap on the floor right now. So that's adenosine, and caffeine just gets in the way of that. It's like putting a brick underneath your gas pedal, or under your brake, I guess is probably the more apt metaphor. It's like putting a brick under your brake so you cannot slow down, you cannot pass go, cannot collect $200. So I don't know how you fall asleep with that in your system. Most caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. So keep that in mind, that it takes about 10 to 12 hours to get it completely or mostly out of your system, enough to where you can sleep well. So those are my favorite things that you can do in the moment. I think that I probably hit the push-ups and the electrolytes the most often. Walking outside, variable depending on what I'm doing during the day. And then caffeine is really only a morning thing for me. But I will say that I don't have cravings in the morning anymore. And the reason for that is bonus tip time is because I eat using the $1 Million Body method. It's super simple. It's the most effective strategy I've ever found for making sure that you have energy at the right times of the day and you are not getting these crazy energy spikes up and down all day. So the reason that it's so effective is I don't even give people eat only 1 cup of oats and then 3/4 of a cup of Brussels sprouts. I don't tell people really how much to eat, because if they're eating the right foods at the right times of day, it really helps their body start moderating and telling them what they need to eat. So most of the time people are eating lighter breakfast, lighter lunches, and then having bigger dinners, but they're eating the right foods at breakfast and lunch. So they're not getting these crazy hunger spikes. So they're not feeling like they haven't had anything, or they've been only eating salad for 3 or 4 days. And that's critical. If you can eat like this in a way that balances your blood sugar, gives you energy at the right times, it makes eating just a lot more enjoyable. And I'm also a big fan of just making breakfast and lunch kind of boring, just having kind of some similar things on the menu all the time. And that way dinner can be a bit more exciting. You can eat more food at dinner. It's just much better system in my opinion, as I'm promoting the thing that I invented. So if you have never checked out the $1 Million Body Method, it's a book I wrote in 2021. It's on Amazon and Audible, but you can also go to getnatesbook.com and grab yourself a copy. It's free, ebook, if you want to check that out, as a PDF or a Kindle version, or you can go buy it, and support me in the show so I can eat this month, and I'll tell my daughter she can have a bike. But yeah, no big deal if you don't. I'm not mad if you don't do that. But if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. It's a solid book, easy read, and it provides you with some pretty actionable steps. And really, the nutrition is only 3 out of 7 pieces. I discuss 7 daily investments that are all designed to increase your focus, increase your fat loss, and just make you feel like a superhero. So the breakfast, lunch, and dinner is only 3 of the 7. So those are my biggest things that I think can give you the results you're looking for. Those are super simple ways that you can improve your relationship with hunger. And let me be honest with you, I do a lot of coaching and talking to people on a regular basis about these sorts of things. This is something that I was talking to a client about a week ago that I just dropped in passing. It was just like, hey, yeah, here are a couple of things that have worked for me in the past that'll solve this issue that you've been having. And he came back to me and he was like, that was game changing for me. That was worth the cost of admission to your program. And I was like, oh, that's just something I said. That's not even that's just one little tip and strategy that I've, figured out over 16 years in this industry. So if you're having problems, if you are struggling with fat loss, you've been up and down the roller coaster a while, and you want something that's sustainable, that's going to work for you long-term, just hit me up. Just email me, nate@nate.fit, or find me on Instagram, send me a DM there @_$1 Million Body. And I would love to help you out in some capacity. I think sometimes the smallest hinges swing the biggest doors. So if this can be beneficial to you in any way, you could have some coaching and some people someone who can just take you and shortcut the process of going from point A to point B. I'd love to be that guy. Let me know how I can help you. And, I hope this makes a difference for you. Feel free to pass it along to anyone you feel would benefit from this. And we'll talk very soon. I hope you're having a great day.